debt and I would like to get my debt down, but I also pay all my bills on time. Have you seen any of my finances?
I pay my bills. What's your point? I think you like the idea of just...
Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book, you know what time it is. I told you guys about Olivia and Brett. We're discussing, obviously, their relationship, discussing, obviously, what happened there as well at Married at First. Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book, you know what time it is. Discussing Married at First Sight, Olivia and Brett. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for a notification of the upload. And for those of you who are lovely returnees and you already know the motto, you got the minerals, you got the minerals. Alright, listen, let's get it going, let's get it going, let's get it going. Alright, cool. So obviously it's watching Olivia and Brett. I think they're a very interesting couple. Reason why? Because I think the argument that they had with Dr. Calvin was so interesting. But before I kind of go into the argument, I want to just kind of say as well, obviously watching their body language when they were talking to Dr. Calvin is very, very interesting as well. I think when they first started, you can see that obviously Olivia is prompt and ready for a conversation, because, you know, she turns her body towards obviously Dr. Calvin and Brett. And I think what's interesting, the difference from watching Olivia and Brett with Miles and Karen and Christina and Henry, is that everybody else except Amani and Woody actually opens their body for a conversation with Dr. Calvin. Whereas when I see Woody and Amani, for a majority of the conversation, they're facing each other. So it's almost as if Dr. Calvin is peering into their relationship, whereas everyone else is inviting Dr. Calvin into the conversation. Why? Because a lot of them have conflict. Dr. Calvin is the equalizer, he is the judge, he is the person who's coming to adjudicate their relationship for a lot of them because they were not in a good space. And so Miles and Karen, Karen kind of did it where she was facing him, but everyone else was pretty much open and honest with their body language to Dr. Calvin as if we're all entertaining a conversation. Whereas with Woody and Amani, you can see them, Dr. Calvin is actually peering into their conversation. And I think that's interesting. Why? Because I think that sets us up for what's going to happen. Watching obviously, even before they sat down on the couch, I thought it was interesting. Obviously, they already know that Dr. Calvin's going to come in, but it's interesting the position that the position that Olivia took. Olivia was sitting down and Brett was already standing up at the door. No unity, all right? Whereas you see Woody and Amani at the door, even Karen and Miles at the door. Christina and Henry, I think they were slightly at the door as well. But, you know, so with Olivia and Brett, they weren't together. They weren't on the same page in that respect, yeah? They're very much individuals when it comes to their own thing. All right. So, obviously now, during the conversation, you know, it starts off really well. You know, they're both, you know, compliment each other. They're both giving... And, you know, one thing about Brett is that he gives very positive feedback when it comes to relationship.
Okay, and vice versa.
Well, I'm constantly attracted to Olivia.
Constantly.
I really believe he does that because... you know, I don't know if maybe that's just him always looking at the positive side of things, and I guess that's why he didn't want to rate the relationship. Some people have a way of trying to always look at the positives of a relationship, and then when it piles on, then they hit you. The pile-on effect. I said this about Olivia too in the last episode, where I said, Olivia, if she says she can take, I said it's dangerous, because if you take, you're going to pile on and then you're going to hit the person. And so what I see also, I think with Brett also may do the same thing. Pile, and then...
She doesn't have a budget, like, so... I don't know, like, she literally told me she has no idea how to do a budget.
Like, explode, right? Just like we saw in this episode. I'm not going to say that he exploded. I'm not going to say that she particularly exploded or snapped or anything, but they definitely bit at each other. It went from being about a genuine argument about something they can try and discuss to being about very personal things. For instance, when they said, when she got to the point where she said, I pay my bills. Do you pay your bills? And he was like, look, I pay my bills. Well done. Like, what? It got real personal real quick. And the reason why is because they piled on. They stopped focusing on the actual task. And we all do it in an argument. We start seeing the person as an enemy. And when you start seeing a person as an enemy, you start fighting that person. Because we're all trying to make sure that we don't get hurt. So when we feel like a person in front of us is now becoming an enemy trying to hurt us, we then start to fight back. And so that's really, really, really key. All right, cool. So back to the body language. Interestingly enough, obviously, as the conversation is flowing, you know, you can see the smiles on Olivia's face. Brett's also very interesting as well. I think Brett's interesting because he never turns his body towards Olivia to have a conversation, right? Miles did the exact same thing too. Henry too. Doesn't actually turn his body towards Olivia when he's talking. Although he gives a great eye contact. I mean, he turns his neck, to have a conversation. But it just doesn't feel like we're having a conversation. It's like we are having a conversation. So it's almost like we're talking, but I'm trying to see what the adjudicator is going to say as well, rather than actually just being zoned into you. And then later on as the conversation goes, as it gets heated, one thing you're going to see from Olivia is that she's animated at first. You can see she's getting flustered, and then when she gives up on the conversation, when she feels like she can't win this conversation, hand rests on the chin, right? When she goes into that position, it's almost to say, I can't win this argument, I'm done, I'm tired, right? And then she comes back to life again a little bit later on when then Pastor Cal invites her to explain why she feels the way she feels, right? And I think that's really key. Another thing of what I saw of Brett was during the argument as well, something that he did, which was really interesting, is his body position, and then the cat coming in. So the cat coming in actually serves as a relaxant. So the cat coming in now serves almost as a small distraction to relax the body. He's stroking the cat, he's relaxing now, he's talking, he's having a conversation, blah, blah, blah. When it gets heated again, or when the cat's not available, his hand goes very straight. So you can see from his shoulder to his hand, his leg is obviously over his leg, and his hand is pressed against the leg. That arm is so tense. He ain't relaxed. I'm sorry, bro. You ain't relaxed. You tense. All right? So his whole arm is so straight and tense, he can't relax. And because it's getting to a point where the conversation is getting to a very heavy point, where he feels like obviously he doesn't agree with her point. And so that moves us actually into the conversation of actually what happened, what was said, why was there a debate, why was there a disagreement. And I think the real aspect here of their disagreement really comes from the fact that different ideologies, okay, and the assumption of an accusation and the feeling of persecution, okay. What do I mean by that? The assumption of an accusation here is that Brett feels like she is, I guess, accusing her. So he feels like, Brett feels like she's accusing him of not having enough money and not leveling up in order to do the things she wants to do.
But things that I enjoy doing is traveling, and I just feel like you're gonna kibosh all of it.
She may feel persecuted because he's saying that you don't do a budget, you don't come with a budget, you don't know what budget is.
She doesn't have a budget, so I don't know. She literally told me she has no idea how to do a budget.
No.
Yeah, you spend money too much, yeah? Persecution. And so what you're seeing is a button of heads on this, right? And actually, it's a conversation that needs to have, and I think Pastor Carl said it so perfectly, summed it up. People don't divorce because of money. They divorce because of their attitude towards money. And I think that's a very key thing. I think I said this when I said about women who are successful dating men. It is not the money that's a problem. It's your stinking attitude towards it. All right? It's your air of arrogance. It's your air of pride. It's your air of solo. I've made it this far. Blah 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 blah. And and you know when you've met somebody, yeah, that is just willing to share. When you've met somebody who's willing to open up everything to you, you know that kind of person. When somebody's just generous, you never feel to take advantage of that person. To a normal person, you naturally want to also be as generous. When you see someone being so generous, you then become more generous. It's almost like seeing, if you've ever sat with homeless people and they've got friends, give that homeless person some food. The way that person shares, you can't share like them. You can't share like them. Why? The mindset is not of abundance. The mindset is, if I'm eating, we're all eating. And that's the trouble that we have in this society. Many of us, including myself, have very solo mindsets. We're very selfish in ourselves. And I think the ego of that mindset, okay, bearing in mind, women are going into a workplace just like men. I think a lot of women have picked up that male ego, that masculine energy, and have started to use it in the pride of, I earned my money, I earned this, I earned that, I earned this. So I'm not sharing unless you're on my level. Like, if you're not on my level, I'm not sharing with you. And so then the person who's coming in who's not earning as much as a guy coming in sees that mindset and runs away. And I'm not blaming any women. I'm just trying to tell you the psychology of things. So what's interesting with Brett and Olivia here is their argument is one of insecurity on both sides, or I should say a fear on both sides. On Olivia's side, she's saying, listen, and Pascal asks, what are you saying here? She's saying, listen, I'm fearful that we won't be able to go on holidays, we won't be able to go out, we won't be able to do things. I got married at first sight to have somebody do those things with me, which is quite interesting because it's almost as if, and I think one of my subscribers said this, it's almost as if she wants a husband to fit into her lifestyle and not make a new lifestyle. I love that point. It's almost as if she wants the husband to fit into her current lifestyle and not make a new lifestyle. Because you see, the Bible says two shall become one. But that one is not the same one that you were before. Because you two coming together is a new life. So there's a new operational thinking you must come into. It's almost like being born again as a believer, as a Christian. When you were the old ways, you got to put it away. The old man you got to put away. You got to start coming to new thinking. You got to renew your mind. Come into a new way of thinking. And I think that's what's important here. And so with Olivia, she wants almost, it feels like that, I'm not saying that's a definite, that she wants someone to enter into her life and fit in. Why do I say that? Well, earlier on in the episode, we see her talking about her house.
Move in with my husband, but I'm also a little nervous just because I'm pretty set in my ways, I'd say, for the most part. And so I'm hoping that I'm able to, let go of the little things.
And her house, interesting enough, she's decorated it, decorated it out, and she loves her house. No worries. And she wants she'd rather Brett move into her house.
I don't own it, but I just like my little bubble and I don't want to leave. So I would love it if in the future we got to move into my house.
Wow.
Right? Because she loves the house. She loves the way she decorated it, etc. And again, when I heard her say that, she doesn't want to change. She doesn't feel like she wants to change. She's very set in her ways, right? That tells you everything you need to know. That person wants someone to enter their life, not set a new life. Am I only blaming her? No, because Brett has his faults as well. We're going to discuss that as well as we go along. But that was her main point. Her main point is listen, I'm not trying to, I want to live this life, yeah? And this is a problem I have, especially, listen, I've worked in banking, so I know. With people who are middle wealth, I'm going to call it middle bracket, middle class wealth. A lot of these middle class wealth think that they're wealthy, and that's the problem. You're middle class, okay? You haven't escaped anywhere. And then the mindset of a middle class person sometimes can be, I'm in abundance, but they spend more than they actually save, or they spend more than they actually bring in.
For him to help me budget, because I have debt and I would like to get my debt down, but I also pay all my bills on time. Have you seen any of my finances?
Because they're so used to the abundance. Obviously, let's say someone earns their normal wage packet. Let's say 1,000, 2,000 a month. Yeah, maybe 3,000. Right, normal class person. And then you get your working wage person, and then you get your middle class 5K, 10K, maybe even 15K. Get excited about the fact they're making this much money a month. They're not wealthy, just making good money. Taxes hitting you like something else. And you're spending a lot. You're going on holidays. You're going here. You're going here. You're presenting this rich lifestyle, but actually you're not rich. You're just doing well.
Like you're telling me that I don't budget. I spend too much money.
You're the one who told me you don't budget.
I told you that it would be nice if you knew how to budget and help me with things because
I do know how to budget.
And so sometimes what happens is they forget how to budget because they're so used to an abundance. And that's where Olivia is. Why? Because the girl is in debt. How is it you earn 3 times more? Let's really deep this now. And I think this is where Brett's contention is, and I know because I know he's a saver. He's worked hard to get where he's at. And we'll discuss his insecurities and fears as well. But the truth of the matter is, how can you earn 3 times more than me? Your house is not owned, you rent it, and also you're in debt. Sorry? How can that be the case and you're still wanting to go on lavish holidays, spend money, and do this? Not making sense. You're not living life, you're dying in this life. Why am I saying that? Because you're not living a healthy life. You're saying that you earn this amount of money and yet you're in debt. How can it be possible? Well, living beyond your means. Right? And this is where the budget conversation is coming in. What Brett is looking at somebody who's living beyond their means, but then asking me to live also beyond my means to join you in that debt.
I think you like the idea of just going and throwing money away.
Hence why the conversation where Pastor Cal asked him to define what is he hearing. I didn't agree with everything he said, but I have to say, when he says, obviously, I'm hearing that the person wants me to spend my money that's for retirement, okay, and if you don't want to spend that kind of money and doing these kind of things, then screw you, right?
Money and do a bunch of expensive stuff, and if you don't make as much money as me and can't do that, then screw you.
It's not what I'm saying at all.
That's what it sounds like.
But I'm saying that it's a fear of mine that all we're going to do is live in a day.
I'm not even confident in 2 points, I think that's later on. But he's obviously trying to think forward, and hearing her spend lavishly, he think you want to spend it on nonsense, basically. And that's another thing I have a problem with Brett with, is the language. I have a problem with Brett with the language. Your language and your tone is abysmal, bro. It's abysmal. You've got to change it.
I couldn't care less what she wants to do, but she shouldn't expect me to ruin my retirement trying to keep up with her. That's ridiculous.
The language you use is very definitive, very black and white, and very crude, in the sense of the fact that you don't leave room for a conversation. It's my way or the highway kind of tone that you use, and the way that you use certain words. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way that you define certain things, you go to the complete extreme, and then you say there's nowhere to turn, because that is it. That's what it is. And so when he's defining and saying, obviously, you know, that she spends this amount of money, X, Y, Z. She wants me to live past my means, etc., etc. I don't think that's what she was really saying. She wanted to. I mean, if you really hear what she's saying, listen, I want to go and do different holidays, different this. So what conversation should have, and this is where Brett comes in. His fear is not allowing him to have a conversation. His fear is making him respond and react, but not letting him listen and be able to take in the information. Why do I say that? I've been there. I know exactly what he's talking about. Trust me, I already told you guys. Look, recently I fell into a place where I don't really work. I had a conversation with a missus, and when we first got together, and I knew my work was coming to an end. And she spoke about, obviously, she likes a guy that pays for dates. Now, I wouldn't have minded if I had a job, but then I lost my job, and then I started thinking about, I went into scarcity mindset. I was like, well, how am I going to pay for these dates? And I fought back out of the fear. I didn't fight back out of listening. Because if I was listening, I could have been resourceful and said, babe, do you know what? My current situation is going to change. So here's what we can do. Let's do like once a month. I will try and save up as I'm where I'm making money, and we'll try and do these things. Is that okay? Cool. You know what I'm saying? Being resourceful. But because I was in fear, I was like, no, I don't do them things, blah, 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 blah.
What's she comparing?
Because I can't afford to go fly all over the world whenever I want and take trips all the time.
How does it make you, okay, now we're getting to the bottom of it. So how does it make you feel that...
Why lie? You know what I'm saying? Because you're in fear. And the fear is responding rather than you having a conversation. That's why I'm telling you, his responses are out of fear. Okay, to go to the extreme. Right? Because if he had listened, he could have said, listen, all right, cool. And this is why I said to you about leadership. This is what I'm saying to you, listen, like, you can make this work for you. You don't have to lead by being King Kong. You don't have to lead by being the apex predator. You can lead by being resourceful. Brett can be like this. And remember I told you, I said to you in the last episode, I said, listen, in the last episode I did this video, I did one for. Go and watch it, because I spoke at 40 minutes. I broke it down. I said to you, listen, in this case, she proved my point. She is in debt. So what do you do as Brett? If you're good at budgets, you say to, listen, we are going to budget and I'm going to get you out of debt. You've led. Simple. You've led. And now she has to respect you for it. And she realizes you're better with money. What do you think is going to happen when you think someone's better with money? You let them steward it.
I have no idea how to do a budget.
No,
Yes,
I
okay,
told
okay,
him that it would be nice for him to help me budget, because I have debt and I would like to get my debt down. But I also pay all my bills on time. Have you seen any of...
You let them steward it. You let them guide you on how we're going to do it. Do you understand? So this is what I'm saying to you, like, you see, then that person can say our money, not my money. Why? Because they realize that you're better with the money. You know what I'm saying? You don't have as much, but you know how to steward your finances. Do you feel what I'm saying? And so when she said that she's in debt, first thing Brett could have done was been like, listen, do you know what? Yeah, do you know what? Not a problem. Listen, let's work on a budget. You earn a good amount of money. You can get out of this very easily. All right, sit down on a budget. Here's how we're going to do. We're going to save this amount, X, Y, and Z. right? And we're gonna do this every month, and you're gonna save this amount of money every month, all right? Cool, fantastic, right? Then she'll be like, okay, cool, fantastic. Now you said you wanna go on the holidays. This is how much money you actually earn every month. This is what you can afford to spend, right? This is your disposable income that you have every month that you can work with, right? Once you're out of the debt, we can get you can increase your disposable income to this point amount, right? Let me tell you something, how sexy it is when someone takes control, bro. Like, I'm just telling you what women are telling me, fam. I'm just telling you, okay, they're not telling me now because I've got a missus, so I don't want her to kill me. So like, that's what they will tell you that, bro. Listen, it's taking charge. Yeah, it's taking charge of a situation where you've got trouble coming your way. It's infectious. It's delicious. It's comforting. It's you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what Brett could be doing, but he's not listening. He's acting out of his fear. He's fearing that, oh, you're abundance and you're asking me to be abundance, but I'm in scarcity, so I can't afford to do what you're doing. Listen. Do you understand? Then they can be compromised, because once she started talking later on, where she said, "Oh, she was crying and saying, I can't remember what the point that she made. She made a point about how she was feeling or whatever." Brett then went and got a tissue. Why did he go and do that? Because she stopped being masculine. Now, many people might not understand this, but I've been talking to you guys for the last few weeks about how to argue with somebody. About when you're arguing with a man, you don't argue with the same level of energy that we argue with. You do that, you're gonna lose me. Yeah, not just me, most men. Why? Because we're not trying to be in a relationship with a dude. You understand? So it's the way that you come at me. So like, we expect you're going to be emotional. That's fine. But then use your softness, use your feminine charm and your wiles, use your ability to suggest, use your ability to use your body to get close to me, to close a conversation and actually change the narrative. Do you feel what I'm saying? So when she calmed down and she started breaking down and she was telling her part of it.
And so I feel like the only way that I can try is to be honest with you on how I feel. And sometimes I feel like how I am feeling may not be perfect.
Why did Brett start listening to her at that point? He realized that she wasn't the enemy no more. Once she broke down, she revealed her vulnerability. The problem is, when women argue with men at the same level as men, like you are a man, you're showing no vulnerability. What you're saying is, I can have you. Well, if you can have me, let's see two lions go at it then, right? So the lion doesn't fight with the lioness, he fights with other lions. They don't make no sense. See, if you argue on my level and try to be a lion, you're going to get a lion back. So if you fight with me like a lioness, you notice that there isn't a fight. There is no fight with a lioness. There's disagreements. But we don't fight, bro. Do you understand? Because my job is to protect you. So you got to allow me to do that by softening yourself, by coming in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and using that feminine energy to get at me. You know what I mean? So I think obviously as well, when the point that obviously for Brett's, because Brett's weakness here is that, like I said, he's acting out of fear. And I think one of the things that he did, which I really didn't like, is the way he was dismissive. So earlier on when she was stating her point about going on holidays, and he came real strong about, you don't budget. The accusation here, the persecution that even laid at her feet was going to make her recoil. Not only that, when she said something else again, he then said, obviously,
Dad, I don't want to do that.
Well, them's the breaks.
He said, dims the break, right? Dims the break. Like, it's like tough luck kind of thing. Like, it is what it is, right? And for me, that was bad, because that defense there was a defense mechanism. It was a way to deflect and a way to kind of say, well, I'm not going to do what you're going to do. So it is what it is, right? Rather than really listening to the person and saying, listen, hey, okay, I hear that, but here's my point. I hear what you're saying and I see points of it. Here's what I'm also saying in response to that, right? But we get lost in trying not to get hurt, that we respond out of the fear rather than responding out of the strength that we have. I'm responding out of a place of saying, hey, I know you're not trying to kill me. I know you're not trying to hurt me. And she obviously that, she went on to say, and when he was saying about how he felt, he said, he's hearing irresponsible, she's hearing that, she's hearing obviously that she's irresponsible, she can't budget, she doesn't know how to save money, And he's saying, obviously, look, what I'm hearing is, look, this girl is trying to basically remove me out of my retirement, basically, you get me? And I think that is what we're talking about here, which is that, this point of action where there needs to be a coming together, we're at a middle meeting ground. Again, I want to point this issue out, though. I felt like, there was a bit of snobbiness from Olivia. I felt like that. Reason being, you know, earlier on when they were in the house at the end, she was like, oh, you know, when she wanted to say that she wanted him to live there, innit? They had a conversation at the very end, and she was talking about, you know, living in the best part of the market, and it's just.
I don't own it, but I just like my little bubble and I don't want to leave. So I would love it if in the future we got to move into my house.
Wow.
Love, you don't own the home, you rent. And so the energy of I like lavish things makes no sense. I think I made this earlier point earlier on. Makes no sense. So automatically there needs to be a reworking of your mindset. You know, some people think I'm living life, but you can't live life when you're in debt like that, when you don't need to be in debt. You're a dangerous person, I will say this. But the truth of the matter is, I really believe they can get past it. I really believe, you know, I really believe that they can move past it. They have a really good conversation about what they actually truly feel and about their emotions towards finances. He's definitely scared because he doesn't earn as much and it's causing him to react. She's obviously overly abundant, doesn't know how to use that abundance very well and to its maximum effectiveness. If they just spoke, he can be able to help her get to that place. And she can help. And again, I said this as well. She shouldn't be afraid to cover him. If you know he can't afford it, cover him. That's what teamwork is. You understand? You wanted a partner to go to the games of Saints and stuff. Pay for it. Now, I don't like the way that he said it, but I do agree with him. Then if you want me to go to these Saints and everything, you know I can't afford it, then, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, pay for me then. You know, you want to bring me into that world. Do you understand? You wanted me to bring you to that world. Then all right, pay for me then. You're loaded, remember. You are the one that's financed, well financed. Fam, bring me in, pay for me. You know what I mean? And I'll come to those games with you. But at the moment, my budget says no, right? And that's where there needs to be a work and say, okay, let's compromise. Let's do something. Yeah, let's look at an activity that we can do. You feel me? Yeah. So, guys, I really believe that obviously them two, they beefed. They saw, and hopefully they can conquer their own fears and move forward. I don't know if you guys thought differently. Let me know. But comment down below and we will have a discussion. Appreciate you guys. Lots of loaded.